today I thought I would just make a little video about why I love to cross stitch and why I love kind of cross stitch and how I got into it. Because a lot of people ask me, well, what is that? What do you do? Why is cross stitch so important to you? Hold on, I gotta adjust myself. Okay, that's way better. I was hurting my foot. Sorry, guys. So my mom taught me how to do counted cross stitch when I was about 8 years old. But I've been watching her cross stitch since I was very, very, very little. Like, I can remember sitting on her lap and I would watch the string like pull through, and it just looked really cool to me. And then I always remember, you know, like holding it so the needle would spin and it would unwind. But it was just something that I really loved watching her do. And then I remember she bought me, it was either a birthday present or Christmas present, I don't know. Oh, what is going on with this hairdo? I don't know. Looking cool, guys. Anyway, so I remember she bought me my first kit, and it was these ballet slippers. And normally we work on like Aida 18 cloth, which is like these very itty bitty tiny, tiny, tiny little holes. These were huge. I want to say it was maybe like an Aida like 22 or 14. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. I don't know if it's Aida. I don't know. To me, I go to the Broadway Music Hall, but that's just how my mind works. And it was really, they were really big holes, and it was just these ballet slippers, like if you were to hang them on the wall. And she showed me how to do the first few things, and then I was just kind of off and running. But my sister Jenny, because my sister Jenny also, she was visiting us. I think she was pregnant with my oldest niece, Hannah. She was visiting us when we lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and she also sat down with me, and I treasure those memories because my sister passed away. It will be 7 years in September, and so I treasure those memories of her sitting on the couch with me, making me grilled cheese sandwiches and teaching me how to cross stitch. But the funny side of that is, you know, my mom always says the back has to look as good as the front. So if you were to flip the back of that, because I was very little and I didn't quite understand how to do this. Now this first project took me years to do. So even though I'd started it when I was 8, I didn't finish it until I was like 12. 4 years on a project. Well, guys, that's a really long time. But anyway, I had clipped a piece, like I had started to stitch at the bottom and then rolled all the way at the top in the back, so there's this huge long string. And I had actually clipped it by accident with scissors, so in my little kid mind, I was like, oh, I'll just tape it up. It's totally cool. I think my mom still has it somewhere at her house. I would have to go find it. But there's this huge piece of tape holding it from one square to the other. Brilliant. I know, I'm really smart. But it was just something I'd really enjoyed, and, you know, after that kit, I remember I was like, okay, you know, I really do like this, I want to try this again. So then I found this other kit of 2 little snowmen that was like best friends. It had these little charms on the front, and I made that for my other sister. I have no idea where that one is. It's probably gone. It evaporated into the ether. I have no idea where that kit went. I know I made it for my sister, and that's where it stops. Then, and those were like the first 2 kits that I made. I was just getting into it. You know, it wasn't a huge deal, but it was something I could do because, you know, growing up, kids all had TVs in their rooms. My mom was like, no, you can't have a TV in your room. That's going to rot your brain. I wasn't allowed to have video games, so I was the only kid on the block with, like, no Nintendo, no Sega Genesis, no Super Nintendo. I never had any of that fun stuff. We had a computer and a TV, and that was about it. And so I was allowed to have books, and I was allowed to kind of cross stitch, and I was allowed to practice my piano and do my homework. That was my childhood. That was about it. So I was like, well, homework sucks. I really hate practicing the piano, even though my mom, it was her desire for me to be this concert pianist. Joke's on you, Mom. It never happened. Sorry. No, just kidding. I love you, Mom. She loves the piano. I had a talent for it, but it was never in my heart. But, side note, sorry, tangent. So I didn't have many activities that I could do, but counted cross stitch was always something that my mom never hesitated in letting me do, and it was something like, oh great, you know, she's doing something besides sitting in front of a TV or playing video games. She's doing something else. This is great. Let's let her do it. So after I finished those two projects, I remember with my snowman one, I had black thread, and I didn't realize that when you hide your stitch, you want to do it like when you end with that thread, you want to hide it behind other stitches that are already done. So I went to end the thread, you know, going up in between, but it's black thread on white cloth, so I didn't realize, you know, when you look at the front, you can see at the very top where I had ended my stitch. Little things that you just learn, because again, there's no YouTube when I was learning how to do kind of cross stitch. I just had my mom. That was it. That's it. That's all I had was my mother. And so I know I did a few other little projects in between. I don't remember them, but I figured out that I figured out a way to do things fast. You know, some people will start from one corner and work to the end, or my mom taught me to start from the center and work out, and that's also what is mentioned on a lot of like instructions on cross stitch kits. But I've also noticed that people will do like a section and they'll move to a section, do a section, move to a section. So you're constantly using one color, stopping, starting with another color, then you're stopping, starting with another color. And to me, I didn't like that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to color this whole pattern, and I'm going to start with all the red, and I'm going to do all the red throughout the whole pattern. Okay, good. Got all the red done. Now I'm going to move to the orange. I'm going to do all the orange done. Sorry, I'm going in rainbow order because I can't think of a better example. Remember, nerd. I'm a nerd, guys. Nerd. And so I did all those colors, and then I do my back stitching. And then when I first went, I did not learn how to do French knots very well until I was in my 20s. I'm a late bloomer. Again, there was no YouTube to teach me how to do good French knots, and the way my mom taught me didn't quite work. And I can explain that in another video, how I learned how to do French knots, and the technique that I've got now makes it so that they're not so scary. I don't mind doing French knots so much anymore. They're just a pain in the butt. I just hate them. It's principle to hate French knots. Fellow cross-stitchers that I've known for many years feel the same as I do. French knots they suck. It's just a rule of thumb. So anyway, I figured out I could do this really fast if I did it in this order. It took less time to do my work because once I was done, I never had to look back. I never had to go backwards. I could just move forward to the next phase. And I loved how it looked when it all came together. You know, it's not just seeing this shape form. It was almost like a pixelated picture coming together. So I liked how it looked. And my mom was shocked. She goes, "How are you doing this so fast?" And I just got faster and faster. And then my mom bought me all of these Mary Engelbreit kits, which breaks my heart that they're all discontinued. You can't find them anywhere. But I loved all the colors, because most cross-stitch kits, and it's getting a lot more diverse now. Holy cow, is cross-stitch more diverse than when I was younger. But when I was younger, it was like kittens and wolves and flowers in a vase, or coffee cups, or teacups, or the only thing I really liked were Victorian houses, which I still love, and I see all these patterns on Pinterest that I really, really want. I want to do all these Victorian houses. I have so many projects, I'm never going to get them done unless I can quit my full-time job, so I gotta find money to do something else, so I can just do cross-stitch my whole life. That would be a dream come true for me. I'm not even lying, it totally would. And so I did all these Mary Engelbreit kits for my sister. So the first one I did, I think you can buy one, and it's the first one I ever did for my sister, where it's got like love, home, family, and there's another word, and it's like in these boxes, and it's broken down in a grid with all these fun pictures. And then I moved on to bigger ones, like the Princess of Quite a Lot, or All You Need Is a Best Friend, or a Good Friend, or something, because my sister loves Mary Engelbreit. I'm not a fan. I just really loved making them because they had all these fun colors. So I did those, and then I did the first big project. Let me go grab it. Hold on. Don't go anywhere, guys. So this was the first big project I ever did. This was before the Thomas Kincaid ones ever came out. This is a big old violin. I think it's a Dimensions, like a gold Dimensions kit, and I think they do still sell this one. Look how beautiful that is. You've got a violin and roses and this candelabra. And I think that's supposed to be a stained glass window, but this is the first really, really big one that I ever did. And I think it took me a year, and I finished this one in February of 2009. And after, my mom thought I was crazy to do something this big, but I was so excited to do this. And then I found the Thomas Kinkade ones. They came out shortly after that. And it's just kind of been this fun journey ever since. So the first Thomas Kinkade one I ever did was Pinocchio. And that one I finished it in 2012. And I started that one the year my sister died. So that one has a lot of memories. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I look at my cross-stitch ones, the full projects that I finished, I can remember where I was living. I can remember what was going on in my life at that time. I can remember everything that was going on. These are memories. And sometimes there's certain areas where, like, in the middle of my candelabra, I know it was the first time I had my own apartment. I was working for Nordstrom. Like, that's the type of thing that I remember when I look at these. And then as a Christmas present, my parents got it matted, because you can see there's it's double matted. And this nice frame. And that was a Christmas present for me, because it's not cheap to get these framed. It's completely 100%, ooh, gross, dusty. It's totally worth it because they're beautiful, but you just gotta save up the pennies to do it. But that's my story. That's my quick story of why I love cross stitch and why it's just me, and I've learned that it helps with my anxiety when life is difficult. I know that I can go home and I can work on my cross stitch, and that square is supposed to be dark yellow or dark bright yellow, or it's supposed to be light brown gray, and that's what that square is going to be, and it just makes sense. Even though it's in color, it makes sense in black and white. And I know that that square is always going to form this picture. And that's what I love about cross stitch. I can go home and it just makes sense. And it helps with my anxiety. When I'm having a hard time with my job or just a hard time in life, because life is difficult as we all know it, I can go home and I can work on something that's going to make sense. And I don't need to ask anybody questions. And I don't have to worry that it's going to be wrong. Like, even if I mess up a stitch, which does happen, and I do have to pull out stitches, at least I know the path to make it right. And I think that's one reason why I love kind of cross stitch so much, is that I can just rely on myself. I don't have to rely on anybody else. It saves me money, keeps me off the streets. That's a joke. I'm not really on the streets, guys. But it helps in so many facets of my life. And I love canted cross stitch. And I want to bring that joy to others. I want others to fall in love with canted cross stitch, and I want it to just keep growing as much as it's growing. So yeah, that's my journey. That's how long I've been cross stitching. Started at about 8 years old. I'm 32 now. Feel like I'm getting really old. I'd love to know how you guys came into cross stitch. Let me know. Okay, thanks guys. Bye.